Welcome to Whispers in the Shadows. Tonight, we descend into one of the most chilling urban legends of Eastern Europe, where beneath a forgotten metro station, a tunnel lies sealed for a reason. If you're fascinated by cryptids, supernatural encounters, and underground horror, you're in the right place. Make sure to subscribe and stay until the end, because what's buried isn't always dead. I've worked on the metro system here for over 10 years, not in a glamorous way, no driver's cap, no announcements over the intercom. I'm part of the infrastructure crew. The ones who walk the tracks at night, checking the wiring, inspecting water damage, tightening bolts that no one else would notice missing. It's the kind of work that's supposed to be invisible. That's how the city likes it. And that's how I liked it, too. Until I started hearing the sound. It wasn't loud. Just a faint, rhythmic tapping. It came only when I was alone, deep in the lower levels near Line 4, one of the oldest routes in the system. People say Line 4 was cursed from the start. It was supposed to be finished decades ago, during the Cold War. Stalinist engineers pushed too deep, too fast. One of the tunnels collapsed during a routine blast. They sealed off the section and redrew the plans. No official documents survive about what lay beyond, but the corridor is still there, Platform D, buried beneath grime and dust, chained shut with rusted locks. Technically, it doesn't exist. The first time I heard the sound, I brushed it off, probably pipes expanding. That's what I told myself. But over the following weeks, I started to recognize a pattern. Always the same 3 knocks, the pause, then a single, sharper tap. Not mechanical, not random. It felt deliberate, and it was always coming from the sealed-off tunnel behind Platform D. I tried bringing it up to my supervisor casually, over coffee. He waved it off like a fly. Soviet-era concrete echoes weird. You ever hear howling from a leaky pipe? Same thing. I let it go for a while, but then came the dream. I was standing in the dark, just outside the chained gate to the forgotten platform. My flashlight wouldn't turn on. My radio crackled with static, but I could feel a pulse behind the wall. Not hear it, feel it. Like something breathing on the other side. And then, suddenly, the chains dropped, the heavy gate creaked open, and in the space beyond, I saw something shift, something massive, waiting. I woke up cold, my shirt soaked in sweat, my hands trembling. The next day, I returned to the archive room. Most of the Metro's old documents had been digitized years ago, but we still kept physical copies of some of the original Soviet-era blueprints. The folders were sealed, dusty, brittle. I wasn't technically supposed to be there alone, but no one checks. The city's budget barely stretches enough to keep the trains running. After an hour of searching, I found something. A blueprint for Line 4 Revision A, 1968. It showed a tunnel that wasn't in the modern map. An entire branch that ran beneath the official routes, extending further east, ending abruptly in a sealed node marked with the code KV0. No legend. No notes. No reason for the cut. I stared at it for a long time. That night, I returned to Platform D. I timed my inspection round perfectly. Last train had passed. The tunnels were empty. When I reached the chained gate, I stood for a long time, just listening. Nothing. I almost turned back, but something made me stay. A pressure in the air, like I was standing in the eye of a storm. Then, faintly, 3 knocks, a pause, 1 sharp tap. I clipped the old lock. The chain dropped with a metallic sigh. The gate creaked open, its hinges screaming after years of stillness. I stepped through. The smell hit me first, not rot, not mold, age, dry stone and iron. A scent that didn't belong in a metro tunnel. My flashlight flickered. I slapped it gently, and the beam steadied. The tracks were still there, but rusted, broken in places. Concrete gave way to older material, brick walls, then carved stone, almost Roman in style. The air grew colder with each step. Not just in temperature, in weight. 50 meters in, I found the first sign, a small plaque embedded in the wall. Faded Cyrillic text, barely legible. Below here, the depths of iron and ash. Unauthorized access is death. I kept walking. The tunnel began to slope downward, subtly at first. I couldn't tell how long I'd been walking. There were no clocks, no signal, not even a breeze to mark the time, but the sounds began again. Soft whispers, far behind me. Though I knew no one had followed, then footsteps, not echoes. These were distinct. Heavy, too slow to be human, too steady. I turned around. My flashlight beam cut the darkness, revealing nothing, but I could feel it, something watching. Just out of sight, I moved faster. Eventually, the tunnel opened into a wide chamber, an old service platform, perhaps, but stranger. The walls were etched with symbols I didn't recognize. Circular, spiraling, deeply carved into the stone. They shimmered when the light passed over them, an oily sheen that pulsed faintly. I knelt beside one of the marks. It was still warm to the touch. Then I saw something that froze my breath in my throat. A mural, carved directly into the stone wall. A depiction of a man, not stylized. Not ancient-looking, realistic, detailed, and he was holding a flashlight. He was wearing my jacket. My knees gave out. I stared at the face in the carving. It was mine, not just a resemblance. It was me. That's when I heard the voice, not with my ears exactly. It bloomed inside my skull, smooth, quiet, cold as glacier water. You've come far, but you've always come. Always. The flashlight flickered. The chamber darkened, and from the edges of that mural, the stone began to change, cracking, splitting open, as though the wall were breathing, as though something behind it had just woken up. I don't remember how long I stood there, staring at that mural, at my own face carved in stone, centuries old. It shouldn't have been possible. There was no dust on it. No decay. It looked fresh. I touched the wall. The carving was smooth beneath my fingers, not like weathered stone. This had been etched with care, with purpose. But the deeper I looked into those eyes, my own eyes, the more wrong they felt. It wasn't just a mirror. It was a message, a warning. And that's when I realized something else. My flashlight was dying. The beam was dulling to amber, pulsing like a heartbeat. But I'd changed the batteries just hours ago. I turned back toward the tunnel entrance. There was no light behind me. The way I came was gone. I ran. At least I think I did. The tunnel had shifted. The angles felt wrong, like they'd been in on themselves. Walls that once led upward now sloped down. My footsteps echoed at strange intervals, out of sync with my movements. I wasn't alone anymore. The sound returned, not the knocking, no. This was different, breathing, but not from a mouth. It came from the stone itself. The walls exhaled a slow, trembling gust, laced with ancient air, as though the tunnel was alive and aware of me. My legs began to fail. Fatigue hit like a wave. Like I'd been walking for days, every muscle screamed. My lungs burned with each breath. That's when I saw the markings again, but this time they formed a map. It had been carved directly into the wall, vein-like pathways branching outward from a central point marked in a spiral, dozens of lines, all leading to a single symbol at the center, a circle, flanked by vertical lines. It pulsed with a faint glow, faint, but familiar. I looked at the spiral, and then at the chamber I had just left. It was the same shape. I hadn't stumbled into something random. This was a design, a labyrinth built to draw people in. Engineered. By who or what? I didn't know, but someone had planned this. My radio crackled. For a brief moment, I heard a voice, my supervisor's, distorted, faint. "You copy? Where the hell are you?" I grabbed the mic. "This is Station Tech 1437. I'm in an undocumented tunnel below Platform D. I need extraction. Repeat, I need static." And then another voice broke through. Not his. You should not have remembered the way. The radio sparked in my hand and went dead. I turned again. I needed to move. Anywhere. I followed what little of the path I could still recognize. Deeper now, not out of choice but necessity. The tunnel narrowed, forcing me to crawl. The walls dripped with a strange, black moisture that stung my skin. Eventually, the tunnel opened again. This time, into a circular room filled with machinery. Old tech. Cold War-era dials, switches, valves. It looked like the control center of an abandoned missile silo. But there were no missiles. Only glass tanks, dozens of them. Each tank held something, shapes, bodies, human, but only barely. Twisted, elongated, mouths where there shouldn't be mouths, eyes grown over with pale skin, floating, unmoving. And then I saw one tank labeled in faded Cyrillic, Test Subject 1437. Failure to assimilate. That number, my number, the ID printed on my work badge. I stepped back. My head spun. My heartbeat roared in my ears. I wasn't the first to come here. I wasn't even the first me. I heard movement behind me. Slow, deliberate, wet footsteps, not rushed, confident. I turned, but the room was empty. The lights in the tanks began to dim. One by one. I ran again. No plan, no direction, just blind panic. The tunnel twisted into impossible geometry, stairs that led sideways, doors that opened to solid rock. But then, finally, I found something different, a ladder. It climbed up into the dark, disappearing into shadow. I didn't hesitate. I climbed, rung after rusted rung. My hands bled. My arms burned, but I didn't stop. Above me, I saw light, faint, flickering. I reached it. I emerged through a hatch, into another part of the metro, clean, maintained, people walking, announcements overhead, normal. But when I looked back, the hatch was gone, just smooth, tiled floor where the ladder should have been. I was back, or at least it looked like I was. They said I was underground for 11 hours. To me, it felt like 3. Maybe 4, at most. But the clock and the Metro authorities' report disagreed. I'd been declared missing. They were about to file a police report when I walked out of the utility corridor, covered in dirt and blood. I told them I'd gotten lost in an uncharted maintenance tunnel, a cave-in. Temporary amnesia kept the details vague. Even then, the supervisor looked at me like I was crazy. He said those tunnels hadn't existed for decades, and when they searched, they found nothing, no carvings, no chambers, no glass tanks, just rock. I was given medical leave, no investigation, no further questions. It was almost like they wanted to forget I was ever down there. But I couldn't forget, not what I'd seen, not the mural, and especially not what I brought back. It started slowly, lights in my apartment flickering without cause, my hallway growing unnaturally cold at night, then the reflections. Mirrors stopped lining up with reality. I'd raise my hand, and the reflection would lag by half a second. Sometimes, it wouldn't move at all, just stared back at me with dead eyes. And I began to dream, always the same dream. I'm standing in that underground chamber. The tanks are full, not with creatures this time, with people. Every one of them looks exactly like me. One night, I woke up with blood on my hands. I thought it was a nosebleed, until I saw the marks on my bedroom wall, the same spiral from the mural, drawn in red. I scrubbed it clean, but it came back the next night and the next. I tried telling someone, a therapist, just once. She smiled politely, scribbled notes. But when I left, I saw it, on her notepad, a sketch, my face. She hadn't been drawing me while I talked. She'd drawn me before I even walked in. I went back to the station 2 weeks later, Platform D, same time of day, nothing, no loose panel, no ladder, just smooth walls and commuters on their phones. But I saw someone watching me, an old man. Maintenance uniform, but not one I recognized. He stood by the far wall, eyes locked on mine. I blinked. He was gone. Back home that night, I found a photograph on my kitchen table. I live alone. I don't even lock my door with a key anymore. It's an electronic pass. The photo showed a group of people, standing in the dark, underground, smiling. Each one had my face. And behind them, the mural. Except this time, the carving showed me with my eyes gouged out. I burned the photo. Didn't help. Next morning, another copy appeared, pinned to my bathroom mirror with a nail. Something wanted me to remember. Something wanted me to go back. Then the voices returned, first in the radio static, then behind my walls, finally, in my dreams, always the same whisper. You remembered the way. Now you must remember who you were. But I already knew who I was, didn't I? One night, unable to take it anymore, I tore up the floorboards in my apartment. That's when I found it, stone, carved beneath my building, beneath everything, the spiral, and at the center, a hatch. The same one. It had followed me back. I stared at the hatch under my apartment. Same material. Same markings, same cold breath leaking through the seams. It hadn't just followed me, it had grown roots. It had become part of my world. I didn't call anyone, didn't ask for help. I knew no one would believe me. No one ever comes back the same. I pried it open. Beneath was a shaft. No ladder, just a drop into darkness, so I jumped. I don't know how far I fell. There was no impact, only a shift in sensation, like crossing through a membrane. Then I was standing, and I wasn't alone. The chamber was vast, larger than anything I'd seen beneath the city. Pillars of black stone stretched into infinity. Veins of light pulsed through the floor like a living nervous system, and at the center stood a throne, carved from bones, towering, shifting. It wasn't a throne, it was a cradle, and in it sat him. He looked like me, but taller, more refined, more complete, as if I were a blurry sketch of his final draft. His eyes opened, and I felt everything inside me seize. My lungs, my thoughts, even my memory slowed. "You were the last echo," he said. His voice didn't echo in the chamber, it echoed in me. He stepped down from the cradle. Around us, the walls came alive. Scenes played out in stone relief, millennia of experiment, thousands of copies sent into the world, each thinking they were the original, each returning broken. You were the closest to surviving, the first to remember the path without unraveling, the one who saw your face and didn't scream. He stopped in front of me. "You still believe you are real?" I tried to speak. I couldn't. "You are a memory made flesh. A vessel. A possibility." He placed his hand on my chest. "You were never meant to come back." And then I remembered everything. The chamber, the tanks, the original me, long dead, his DNA harvested from a forgotten war, used to create copies, test subjects, tools, not to explore, but to prepare the surface for his arrival. I wasn't a man. I was an advanced scout, a living question. What would humanity do if it looked itself in the eye and found something older staring back? He pulled back his hand. "It is time. One final echo. Your purpose is not to live. It is to make them remember us." The world collapsed. I awoke on a bench, Station D. Same as always. Commuters passed me by. No one noticed the blood on my shirt. No one noticed the flickering lights. No one noticed me. But I could feel it, him, inside me, like a frequency I couldn't turn off. And now, I see others, people with my face, on trams, in markets, in reflections. We don't speak, but we know. The city has already begun to shift, stone whispering beneath pavement, patterns in the architecture aligning into spirals. It won't be long now. He's coming. And I'm just the beginning. If you enjoyed this terrifying journey into the underground mystery, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Would you dare enter a place like this yourself? Comment below and tell us your thoughts. Your story might be featured in a future video. This has been Whispers in the Shadows. Until next time, beware the silence, because sometimes the dead remember.